Welcome to Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet that has decided we are going to Comic-Con 2014. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm your host, Chad, and we are talking about a movie today, The Spectacular Now.
And then on Thursday, we're going to be giving our review of Payday 2.
As always, you can check us out over at Twitter, at Epic Geek Out. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Epic Geek Out, and also check out the website, www.epicgeekout.com. Well, let's get into our review of A Spectacular Now. So The Spectacular Now is a story about this high school kid who's kind of the life of the party. He is the kid that is just living in the moment, not really thinking about his future, and he's just enjoying life. It stars Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. I just wanted to get that correct. And it's one of the independent movies that are coming out. We decided to see this instead of Getaway, which was getting at most, I think, a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. And so, it's a story about this kid. It's their senior year of high school. He meets this girl, kind of the unpopular girl, and, they start kind of a relationship, and it's kind of an indie that, focuses on their life. The movie kind of starts with him writing a college essay about how he hasn't really gone through any hardships. Explain a hardship, how you conquered it, that kind of thing. So, Chad, what do you think of The Spectacular Now?
Yes, this is written by the writers of 500 Days of Summer, which we love, so I was really stoked for it. And it's funny because the way you just described it is what I wanted, but it's definitely not that. Like that, the heart of this movie isn't really about the relationship between the two. I think that's a big portion of it, but it's really about the kid and growing up in terms of what he's looking for in life and his aspirations and stuff like that. It deals with a lot of really dark issues like divorce and substance abuse and stuff like that as well, which isn't necessarily the point of the movie, but it illustrates the point of, yes, it's awesome to say let's live in the moment, but really there's also like
consequences
and
to
consequences,
it,
right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it was bad. It wasn't what I was expecting out of it. So that kind of tainted it a little bit for me, just because I really wanted it to be this really nuanced romantic movie about like teenage love and stuff like that, and it really wasn't that. It was more about this kid and his.
It was his journey, life. And I mean, she was in it a lot. As well, but it certainly was a story about him.
But having said that, I mean, that part of it was done really well. I think it definitely didn't fall into some of the tropes that a lot of these types of movies do with relationships. So in that regard, it's refreshing that it kind of had its own voice and kind of took its own path to get to what it was trying to say. But again, it's just the way it was written for me. I wasn't like, I wanted it to be like a heartwarming tale. Yeah. Like I said before, I want to be warmed, but it wasn't that, unfortunately, because there's a lot of really awful things that happen in this movie and dark
uncomfortable
subject matter.
moments.
Yeah. So overall, I think the acting across the board was really, really strong and great. I mean, that's always with these types of movies. That's always what should be shining and stuff like that. The kids felt very real in terms of like being high school kids, and I think it was trying to be like what kids are like nowadays. I feel it's trying to speak to like youth of America today, but I would have liked maybe a little bit more of the influence of like technology nowadays and stuff like that. Like not technology, but like social media and how that's really changed the.
They were like IMing in the movie, it wasn't.
I don't know when this was supposed to take place, but
I feel like they would have been texting and not doing,
or like on Facebook or whatever. But like I think that's really changed the way that kids grow up, because that information's out there, and
for sure,
it's definitely changed it from when we were growing up. So I would have liked maybe a little bit more of that in terms of, because I know it was trying to go for like kids nowadays, they're just like, they just want to live for the moment and not really think about the future.
I don't think that's true. That was his character, but I think everyone else.
But I think his character was showing. This movie was trying to put a light on that, I think.
Yeah, but that was just him. Whereas the other people, like his girlfriend in the beginning, Alison Brie's character, she had a plan, and she wanted.
But I felt like it was an overall commentary in terms of, I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but I just took it as like, this is a commentary on this type of mentality that a lot of kids have nowadays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And granted, there was other characters in the film that were, the college going,
Yeah, I mean, there was the president of the class that was, starting charities and doing things like that. And, just to touch off what you were saying, he did say that, well, what's your thing? is, he asked the girl.
Right.
And pretty much to, his character in the movie, everyone would be easily summed up by one thing. He's the rich kid. He's the stoner. He's the class president. And, I think this movie jumped from that to show that, nobody is just one thing. But his thinking wasn't, and he was the fun guy that everyone loved, but,
I think that was commenting on, like, the labels that people, like, kids put on others. Like, I took it as more of, like, an overarching thing, but maybe I could be wrong. But, yeah, I think overall really good, so.
Yeah, I enjoyed the time with the movie. This is an indie, so, you're going to go in expecting, hopefully, good acting, which I think we got across the board. There were some side characters. It was mainly his story, and then, she was in most of the scenes with them, but Kyle Chandler was in the movie. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was great. Alison Brie did a really good job. So Bob Odenkirk was in it for a bit, which was just, Better Call Sal. Good moments. They all had great moments in it and felt believable. I think a good movie, you have to be able to feel and believe that these characters are who, they're obviously trying to tell you that they are, which I think it succeeded at that. There were predictable moments in it, and then there were moments that weren't easily predicted. So it was a good balance of you could see this coming, and it was a train wreck that they couldn't see coming, and it was just like, it's like it was a labor to wait for it, but that was good because it made you feel that way. Because people in their real lives, though it might seem obvious to everyone on the outside, they don't see it coming. Like his, the whole storyline with his father. You could kind of see that, but you still felt really bad for the character, and you felt for him, when it was happening, even if you could have called it 15 minutes before it did, which was played by Kyle Chandler, which I thought was, great across the board. So I think the acting in this movie makes it completely worth noting, or worth seeing, kind of, just because the people, they just did a great job across the board, made it feel like they were in high school. There were a couple points where the main character seemed much older than like his best friend, or like her best friend really seemed like they were younger, opposed to kind of older actors playing younger. So that threw me off a little bit, but not enough to take me out of the movie. So yeah, across the board, I'd recommend this. If this is your kind of movie to go see, I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a slice of life movie. It's about this one kid, and I think to talk more on just the alcohol thing, there's a lot of drinking and driving in this movie, and it's not the focus of the movie. It's touched on in parts, but the creators were saying, this isn't a PSA for drinking and driving. It's just what this one character does, and it shows how beyond irresponsible he is, and how at such an early age, a senior in high school, he's an alcoholic. I mean, for all purposes, he had to quit his job because he couldn't promise he wouldn't come in drunk, or something like that. So like, that isn't the focus of the movie, which I kind of appreciate, because that's not what they were going for. They were telling his story, and though he didn't have to deal with a major traumatic thing, well, kind of did, but like not like it wasn't the main focus. I kind of enjoyed that to some degree. And some people were saying that they like highlighted it and like kind of made it look cool. I don't think they did that at all. I mean, it looked pathetic and sad, and
it was a little bit sensationalized in terms of like the amount of it. It was a little gratuitous, and just like he was in bars throughout the whole movie, and he's 17 or 18, whatever, and that just for me was a little unbelievable. I mean, I don't know, because I would never drive at that age, so I don't know like how easy that is to do, but he was like literally just like a guy sitting in a bar drinking at multiple scenes, and that just was a little weird, because it was like, they made it seem so natural in terms of like, but I guess that's part of like his character. I don't know. It was just a lot of it, which was weird.
Yeah, and there was a lot of it, and then showed one of his ways that he escapes and stuff like that. So, but besides that, I think it still was a very successful movie.
Watch, for sure.
So it's that time of the episode where we like to give our thanks. Chad, what are you thankful for today?
So this past week was the 20th anniversary of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuting on American television.
Ridiculous.
And I grew up loving it. Yeah. So, I mean, I got to just give it a shout out. The Green Ranger, the White Ranger.
How old does that make you feel?
Makes me feel pretty old. But,
God. I remember finding, like, I went to Toys R Us all the time as a kid, and finally finding the toys one time. I put every one of each in the cart, and my parents were like, well, you can't get all of them. I'm like,
yeah.
but I can't find them anywhere else. Who do I get? Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, good time. So it was like a Japanese show that they dubbed over and put like American scenes in, like Kids in America. And
if you don't know Power Rangers, I mean, you shouldn't be watching this show.
I mean, it was rapidly successful. It spun off multiple like franchise spin-offs and different versions of them, and a movie. I mean, there's so much crazy stuff. So thanks, Power Rangers, for being awesome
20 years in our lives. And then, so I'm going to thank the fact that we decided, I mentioned it as kind of the opening to the show, that we are going to go to Comic-Con in San Diego next year. Beyond, this literally just happened kind of, we already booked the hotel. It's July, 24th to the 27th or something like that. So if you've ever been before and you're watching and you have any tips on just things to do, I mean, we've been to San Diego before, but, things that you have to see when there, anything like that, we're going to be talking about it for pretty much a year because it's kind of like our mecca, something we've said we've always wanted to do. So it's crazy that we're actually going to do it. So if you've been before, have any advice, please impart that, leave it in the comments below, send us a message, something like that. But we're beyond stoked.
More to come on that for sure.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching this episode. We appreciate it as always. Make sure you check back on Thursday. We're talking about Payday 2, which is a new game that's out. So thanks for watching again. We'll see you next time.